If you're just half baking your onboarding or you're just winging your onboarding as an agency owner, then over the lifetime of your agency, you're literally going to be leaving millions of dollars on the table. And how do I know that? Firstly, I run a 7-figure marketing agency called My Online Guy, and I've been running that now for 8 years. And the onboarding sequence I'm going to be sharing with you guys today has made my agency millions of dollars in ongoing revenues and ongoing retainers and increasing the lifetime of the retainers that we have with us. And I'm about to share how we've gone about it in incredible depth with you guys today. So go grab a coffee because this one's a long one. So before I continue and go into depth in what we're looking at today, I just want to reiterate, your onboarding is the secret to starting a good relationship with your clients. So there's a lot of people out there that just skim over the onboarding or try to completely automate the onboarding process, not realizing it's one of the last opportunities you have to really leave a good first impression on the client. So the most excited your client is ever going to be is when you first sign them up. They're going to be super excited. That can all disappear if your onboarding is not done well. And that is because no one wants to feel like they've been sold something and then just been left in the lurch, if that makes sense. So we need to balance having an onboarding process that makes them feel special and makes them feel like we're really thinking about them, but can also scale with a large agency. So this is what we use at My Online Guy, which is my agency. And it's worked amazingly well. And it gives us a good balance between having something that's scalable while still maintaining a personal touch and the client thinking that we're really trying to give them the white glove treatment. So let's go through this. As you can see, this is pretty comprehensive for an onboarding process, but I can assure you it's quite simple. But like I said, if you're not putting the effort into your onboarding process, then you are going to lose money long term. So let's just get straight into what we've got here. So I'm going to zoom in here and we're going to start. This is actually part of a bigger workflow, which is our Facebook ads service delivery workflow. So you can see here, we're looking at this first section here, which is the onboarding meeting, and this links to our onboarding workflow, which I was going to show today, but it's part of a bigger process. And what we basically do is once we have a client booked in and they've scheduled their call, then we start this onboarding workflow. So the first part of this workflow is that the client schedules their onboarding call in the sales meeting. So this is one tip, guys, I want to give you all, is you should be booking your onboarding meeting in your sales call. Because if you leave it till after the sales call, there's a very good chance that the shine can come off and they may not book in. You want that commitment. Not only do you want them to sign the contract and get the agreement together and pay you some money, you want to get the agreement that they're going to commit to this meeting. And you want to make sure that you give yourself at least 3 days before the actual call to organize the logistics and information. This is really important because if you don't do that, then you don't give yourself enough time for if something goes wrong. So you've got to account for the worst case scenario. And in our case with onboarding, the worst case scenario is clients not giving you the information you need to be able to do the job properly. So we need to account for that by adding a day or two extra. And I see a lot of agency owners, they don't do this. They try and book the onboarding meeting the next day, and then they go into a half-baked meeting and the client thinks that they're amateurs. Now, before I continue on, if you want a copy of what I'm showing you here today, then make sure to join my free school group. It's in the description below. It will be linked in there once I get it online and everything like that. So make sure to join that free school group. And I'm going to be doing a series of videos on all of our workflows at My Online Guy. I thought about putting this into a course. To be honest, I just want to provide you guys value. So make sure to subscribe because the next one's going to be coming out in the next week or so. So make sure to subscribe for that. It's going to be on research, which is a really important topic with Facebook ads. So let's keep going. So schedule your onboarding call in your sales meeting, and then the client signs the contract. And then we have data input and output. So we're going to store the contract in the client folder. We're going to create the client folder is the next steps, but you're going to store this contract in your client folder in your document/legal part of your folder for your client. Then what we're going to do is create our client folder, and that leads us to our first SOP, our first procedure. So this is a client folder setup checklist. Feel free to pause this now and copy it. Otherwise, again, join the school group. This will eventually end up in there. I've got a quick video here on how to set up the file structure for all the clients. And then that's the explainer video that I'm going to cut out of this is going to go right here. And this is a sort of structure that we have. Now, the reason we have this structure is we just learned over time that this is the optimal structure without having too many files and having enough so you can know where things are. Because trust me when I say, as you start to scale, if you don't have things in the right place, then when a client asks for it and it takes you 2 days to find the file, you're going to lose a heap of time and it's going to cost you a heap of money as an agency owner. So they're going to name it after the client. So this might be Jimmy. And then you're going to have a branding folder with logos, pictures, and other. You're going to have a documents folder with legal, communications, customer information, and miscellaneous. And you're going to have a service 1, service 2, service 3. And you're just going to rinse and repeat. So if you're doing 3 services for your client, you're going to have 3 services in there. That might be Facebook ads, Google ads, and database reactivation. So for instance, you're going to have 3 in there. Now, this isn't hard and fast. This is just our standard. If we have to create new folders, then we do that. Whatever helps to convey the information we need to the whole team so they know that if it's a legal document, they need to go in there. So the contract, when we go back to this, the contract is saved in documents and legal. So documents and legal is where that's going to end up. So we use this, we give this to our VA team, and they go and set this up as part of the SOP process for onboarding. So from there, that's pretty straightforward. That's the link to that. We then send an introduction email to the client. Now, this is a key step, and this is something that I've just learned through experience. The introduction email is designed to introduce you to them and the other key points of contacts and get key information from them like trading details and account accesses. And where your onboarding meeting is where you discuss specifics from a business to get a better understanding from them. So what I mean by that is that this welcome email is more just like a first touch point to introduce your team to them and also start to get some of the contact details that you need and start to get some of the access, because that's what's going to take the longest in the onboarding process, is getting access to things like Facebook Business Manager and getting their pixel and things like that. The actual onboarding meeting that we do, and I'll talk about why we still do onboarding meetings, the actual onboarding meeting that we do is where you start to ask about the psychographics of the client, who they deal with, who their demographics are, so we can start to do research on their audience and make sure that we have the right ad going to the right ad, the right demographics going to the right ads is what I should say. Okay, so then I have a link to our introduction email. I'll quickly go over this. Again, join the school group if you haven't. That's where this kind of stuff's going to be. So this is an introduction. Welcome aboard. First name. And then in my emails, I always have whether actions required or actions not required. It's helped a lot with making sure that clients read the emails where they have to do something. If we send them a report, we say no action required, they don't read it a lot of the time, which helps in our best interest as well. But when we put action required in here, we know that clients will generally read it because we train them to do that. You've got to remember, as an agency, you've got to train the clients in the way you want them to work with you. And if you don't do things like this, then they just won't open your emails that you need them to open. So you need to set a priority to the different emails. So g'day first name. So you might change this to hey first name. Australian, it's just Australian slang for hello. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you for trusting us to join you on this journey. It's an understatement to say we're super excited to get started on the project. Before we can get started though, there is some housekeeping we need to tend to. Below is a client intake form. It's really important that you get this back to us ASAP, as we cannot start on your project without this filled out. So let's talk about this first section for a moment. Basically, what we're doing is we're trying to give them the impression that we know what we're doing, right? So we want to ask for the things that we need in the order that we need them. So what we're trying to do here is we give them an easy intake form. So the onboarding meeting is where we ask the hard questions, where we need the answers. The reason we don't use forms, well, we do, and I'm going to explain this in a sec, but when we started, we didn't use forms for our onboarding meeting where we try to get the demographic information, is because clients don't fill it in because they're too lazy. So I've found the best way to get the information I need to be able to make sure I make good ads for the clients is by just asking them questions, which I've got questions there for you in, again, the school group. So make sure to join, that's completely free. So the client intake form looks a little bit like this. It's essentially just a form, and it's got key contact details, as in business name, phone number, a lead email address. So we're a lead generation agency, but you might have this as an appointment setting, a right email address where you'd like the leads to send to, phone number, where the leads, opening hours, and any license or numbers that they need to list on the ads. So some industries like plumbers, for instance, they need a business license. They need a license to be able to trade. So we put the electrical contractors licenses and the plumbing contractors licenses in the ads just to make sure that we're legally covered. Then we go into, do we have a Facebook business account manager? Yes, no, not sure. The reason we give them 3 options is they may know that if they have one, they may not know if they have one. And if they're not sure, then we can potentially charge to set it up. But if they say yes, then we send them instructions on how to access this Facebook Business Manager. So these instructions basically go to another doc that they can open up, which then shows them how to give us access to their business manager. Same with this Facebook Pixel, account setup, 2-factor authentication, business link to your, so where they're not sure, there's going to be things they're not sure about. We have emails that go out to make sure we get that stuff from them. And then we stress it's really important to get this stuff ASAP. We want to, again, train the customer that we are setting the ground rules for what we're doing. We're not letting them set the rules. So by saying that we can't start this project, and a guarantee if you have it, until we get this information, it gives them a sense of urgency to fill it out. If you don't give them a sense of urgency, they'll never fill it out, which is really annoying. And then I know it looks like a lot, and I appreciate that you are flat out, but trust me when I say the 30 minutes it takes to fill this out will save you a lot of stress in the future of working out. So we're emphasizing, get this done because it's important. It's relatively straightforward. If you get stuck in any reply, just reply to me and we can get you sorted. And this is just a friendly reminder that our onboarding call is booked on date, and then we intend to launch our ads on date. So we're reminding them when these ads are supposed to be going live. And I like to insert a calendar link for both just so they can put them in their calendars if they haven't yet. And then I talk a little bit about a process, a 3-step process: gaining information, collating and reviewing, and then launching the ads. And then it's important to have all these steps done 2 days before ad launch. So we put a date in there. You can see our emails are a lot about dates to keep the project on track and to keep guaranteed timeframes accurate. And if you have any questions or need help, please ask ASAP so we don't have any delays. So we're just reminding them that the onus is on them. And then we want to introduce our team members. So there's a number of people working on this campaign on my team. Here are contact details. We basically give them a main email address that we want them to send emails to, but we also give them some key people. So our project manager, Cam, ops director, just in case there's something specific they want to talk about. But we want to remind them, what we're doing here is we remind them that there's a lot of people working on this. It's not just going to be, just checking that. It's not just going to be the person who takes the call. There's going to be a lot of people involved in this process, and we want to make sure they understand that. And then, yes, the last bit. And then we attach the contract. That is a very important part. We want them to have the contract because, yeah, look, they'll email us and go, can we have a copy of the contract? It chews up margin. Anytime the client emails you for something that they have already, it chews up margin because someone will take 20 minutes to find it. That's 20 minutes you're not charging them for. So this is a scaling thing. You've got to try and give them the checks and balances to make sure stuff gets done. So you can see here, attach the contract and link to the client intake form. And then we move from there. We give it a couple of days, and then we see if we have access to everything. If we don't have access to everything, we're going to send them follow-up emails. So the first follow-up email we're going to send them is this reminder email. I'm not going to go through it in too much detail, but just a reminder, we still need access to the following items. So we're going to check the client intake form when they do it. And then if they're missing things that they haven't given us access to, we're going to ask that for access to them, basically. Go, we need this. Instructions on how to create each of the item are linked next to them. So you can see here, as part of our SOPs, we got set up instructions for how to set up pretty much everything that you'll need for Facebook. So we link whichever one we need in this. And then basically what we do is we offer to do it in real time. So we give them two options because we don't want them not to do it. So if they are struggling and they can't read instructions well and stuff, they might just want to pay us to do it. But you never do it for free unless you're desperate. So we go in here and we say, but if you find you're struggling to set them up, we do offer a service which we will jump on a Zoom call together and set it up in real time. The service costs X, Y, Z. We charge $120 an hour for context. And you can book it here because it generally takes about an hour. So we give them a booking link. They can go and book that. And also we need to reschedule our onboarding call as we cannot have the meeting without access to the items. How does time and date say for you? Or you can pick a suitable time here. If you give us the required access in the next 24 hours, we'll be on track for launch. So we're basically saying that because they haven't given us our stuff, we're going to have to push back our time. And then we send 2 follow-up emails after that. The second email is just basically the same thing, but with the rescheduling again of the onboarding time. We go a little bit more aggressive with our what we say. And then the third email here is basically saying that give us the stuff. We cannot, and it's a lot more aggressive. Urgent action required up here. Just following up on the items we still have outstanding. You must give us access ASAP or we cannot start your project without having access to the below items, I should say. Whoops. Probably by this time, people aren't reading this. Below items. As we need to get these items sorted, I am willing to waive the fee to set up the above. Please book a Zoom call ASAP. So what we're essentially saying, right, is that we've tried 2 times now to get you to set this up. We need this stuff now so we can continue on. We're just going to set it up for you. And this is the Zoom call. And then we talk about how we've pushed our time frame back and then how they're going to have to rebook the onboarding call, and the guarantee doesn't start till the campaign's live. So we just reiterate that them pushing this back is pushing the results back. Then let's say they give us access to everything we need, or we jump on a Zoom call and we have access to everything we need. We jump on an onboarding meeting. Now, I mentioned that I highly recommend, until you start to get some scale, that you do your onboarding meetings face-to-face. And because your onboarding meeting is one of the most important meetings you're going to have with your client, as it's a great opportunity for them to get excited again for what you're doing. You'll be amazed that if you jumped on an onboarding call again with your client, if you jump on a call again with your client, how excited they'll get for what you're doing with them, and how they'll give you more rope to hang yourself with, for lack of a better term. And I know there's a lot of people who will try and automate this process using a form. This is a mistake, and I'm going to call anyone out that's doing this as a form. It's a mistake. I've been doing this long enough now to be able to make that judgment call, and you are missing out on top line revenue if you use a form, because clients are lazy, and it gives you a chance to address more. I'll address this first bit. It's clients are lazy, right? They're not going to give you all the information you need to create good ads. If you just put it all in a form, they're going to give you one-word responses, which is not ideal. And it gives you a chance. This is the main reason you want to do it. It gives you a chance to address small problems and miscommunications before they blow up. What I mean by that is, I don't know how many times I've had clients who I've explained very explicitly that they're going to be charged the ad spend and they need to give them their credit card details. You jump on an onboarding call and you reiterate that, and they're like, oh, I didn't know I had to do that. So it gives you a chance to explain that again before you get started, so that you don't get to the point where you need their credit card details and like, hey, wait a minute, I didn't know I was going to do this. That's why it's so important to go face to face with this stuff. And that's amazing how that stuff blows up and can jade someone and ruin a relationship that you've had that could have been very lucrative, long-term, and successful for you. And eventually, as you scale, you won't have time to do face-to-face onboarding meetings. So as I'm saying this, you need to do face-to-face onboarding meetings. We don't do face-to-face onboarding meetings anymore, but we have done something which I feel like is a middle ground. So we have our form here. This is our website form. So it's not our Facebook ads one, but it's a website form. And you can see what I've done where I need them to answer questions is I've done a video explaining the question. So it's effectively like me being on a face-to-face call with them. So I emphasize how important it is for them to put effort. In this video here, I say, look, this is going to take you an hour, but do it properly, because without it, I can't do the job properly. So you can see here, goals, websites, likes and dislikes, a tone of voice. They're all just questions, but I've just done a video that goes out to everyone explaining it and explaining why it needs to be done that way and why they need to put some effort into the answers. Now, please be mindful that this solution is not as good as face-to-face meetings. This isn't as good as face-to-face meetings. On face-to-face meetings, you learn insights and you address problems that you won't be able to find by just sending them a form. I'm a big believer in that. But it does provide a balance between user experience for the client that you're working with and scaling. Now, as you get bigger, you need to balance what is optimal with what makes the most sense financially. And that is a good balance. So we're about to conduct our onboarding meeting. This is a link to our outlines. Our outlines are pretty basic, but they do help a lot. So I'll have this up while I'm talking. I generally have it printed out and put on the table. And we start with formalities. I'm just going to skim over this. We start with formalities because you really do want to keep your relationship and start your conversations with your client about how the kids, how's the wife, how's business been, because it sets a good frame of mind to get people to talk. So if you just get straight into, oh, hi, it's Jimmy here, let's start the meeting, then people won't have a good frame for talking. Whereas if you set the tone of the conversation to be casual, then people will open up in their onboarding meeting. So I like to start by introducing, if they haven't spoken to me personally, introduce myself, mention I've got a couple of kids and I've been doing this a long time, and I ask if they have kids. I ask how long they've been in business for, just some formalities, 5 minutes. This whole meeting should take you less than an hour. And then we go and set proper expectations. This is probably the most important part of the meeting. Expectations are everything in SMMA, in agency space, I should say. They're everything. If you don't set expectations properly, then you will lose clients long term. The reason I'm able to keep my clients for so long is I have the ballpark mapped out, I've given them the rules of play, and I set expectations. So I reiterate the tangible goals of the campaign. So we're going to reiterate our guarantee. We're going to reiterate what we're trying to achieve together, and critical timelines and milestones. So if you've said you're going to take you 3 weeks to set up the ads, go back through your cadences, see if that time has changed, and reiterate the key timelines and milestones. I am going to get you the first revisions of your ads within 2 weeks from finishing getting all the information I need from you, that kind of stuff. Going to talk about communication cadence. So for instance, you're going to talk about how you send them a video weekly or fortnightly, just catching them up on what we've been up to. That way we can address any questions that pop up. Going to send a formal report once a month. Talk about the metrics you're going to focus on. You really want to steer your client on the metrics that are important. So you want to say, we're not going to be too worried about clicks. We're going to be worried about the things that matter. Cost per lead. We're going to be worried about how many leads we're getting. We're going to be worried about our appointment conversion rates. We're going to be worried about how much money you make. Make them focus on the metrics that are important. Reinforce the ad budget and how client has to pay and the logistics of that. So this is super important, and you can see I bolded it. Every onboarding meeting, I have to reiterate that the client has to pay and they've got to put their own credit card details into the ads account that they're doing. Now, you can help them do that, but ultimately you should never pay for the client's ads, because next thing, a month's a long time, right? Next thing they go bust or they leave you in the lurch and you're holding the bag for thousands of dollars, which has happened to us in the past. So we've just got a rule. The client pays for their own ads. Yes, you miss out on some frequent fly points and things like that, but it's not worth holding a bag for $10,000, $15,000 because you've been paying the client's ads and they disappear on you. And mention any hurdles or roadblocks you may foreshadow. Say, look, one of my team members is going on leave for a week. That could slow us down. I'm a bit under the weather. I'm going to have to sort that out. My child has just been born. That may slow it out. Bring up any hurdles and roadblocks. It's not a weakness, and the client will appreciate you keeping them in the loop of potential roadblocks. You got to remember that the client, most of the time, the timelines you set are not hard and fast. They're going to be slow getting things to you and things like that. So if you just let them know, look, there is a chance that this could slow down for a week because one of my team members is having a baby, they're going to be fine with that. You just need to keep them in the loop. Then we're going to review the intake form over the call. So you're going to focus on clarifying any issues with logins or information. So you're just going to go over the form very quickly with them, make sure that everything you've got, you've got. And then you're going to ask psychographic questions. So this is where the meat of the call is. So you remember you're recording this Zoom call or you're recording this meeting with them. So I don't want you to focus on the meeting. I don't want you to focus on taking notes. You're going to do that after the fact with AI tools. But these are a guide to some of the questions that I ask in meetings and my team asks in meetings to make sure that we get the information we need to be able to set up the ads properly. So we're going to ask about target demographics, about services, brand voice, offers that they've gotten, what's worked in the past, paid ads performance in the past, offline and online. So if they've run radio ads that have worked really good, you might get a copy of those radio ads so you can listen to hear what they've said in them. They might have a brick and mortar poster. You might be able to use the graphics from that. That's why it's really important to ask that. And competitive landscape. So I don't generally ask all of these questions. I'll ask a portion of them. But what I do is I'll ask these questions and I'll get them to, you can see that they're all open-ended questions to get them to open up. They'll ask and then I'm listening and I'm going to get them to elaborate. So let's say we're talking about primary audience here and they go, oh, look, our primary audience is women and they come to the gym and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, what kind of women come to the gym? Or generally, what are the ages of the women that come to the gym? Or if you could have any people walk through the gym at any time, who would you love? What do you picture of as the ideal person that comes into the gym? Those are the kinds of follow-up questions I'm asking to that. So you want to listen and go, what kind of things am I going to need when I'm developing and doing my research and trying to work out which ad library I'm going to use for my ads? Which one am I going to need to use to make sure that I don't have to ask them again? So you're doing this onboarding meeting and you need to do it like with that in mind. Don't want to have to do this twice with the client because you'll piss the client off and you should be able to get all the information you need in one meeting. So you go and ask those questions and then you're going to reiterate the next step, mention how you'll provide them an email after this with any specific tasks required of them. So when you're doing this meeting, you're going to discover that, oh, actually they've got this awesome radio ad. Well, in your follow-up to this in an email, you're going to ask them for that ad. So you're just making notes and things of that. Oh, you don't, because obviously you're not going to be able to remember because you're not taking notes. So you're going to ask them, are you going to listen to it? You're going to take notes after the fact and go, yep, I need that, I need that, I need that from them. And you're going to ask them to provide images so they can and provide you anything they have regardless of whether it looks good or not. So I always have to reiterate this. That's why I've put it here. Generally, what a client will do is provide you their best photos. But as you guys know, sometimes the best photos aren't the best photos for ads. So I just ask the client, dump any photos you have that are good in the folder, right? Don't worry about whether they're ugly or good looking or whatever. Just dump them in the folder. Let me work out what we're going to use because what I want from an ad perspective is generally different to what you want to, you think is good. I'm just checking my audio here. Yep, we're still good. Yep, checking. And then, yeah, basically that's it. It only takes you an hour of your life to significantly increase the lifetime value of your client. It's worth it to me. But as you scale, you do have to balance that. And then you're going to save the AI summary. So you're going to create an AI. So you're going to save the recording in the client folder under documents/communication. And then you're going to create an AI summary of the meeting using AI tools. There's plenty that do it. Zoom does it as well if you've got a pay plan. You're going to create an AI summary so you can skim over the information you need. So you can, what you're trying to do is collect the tasks and have any follow-up questions you need, because the recap of the onboarding meeting email that you send is going to be the last time you can ask them for stuff, really justifiably. You can ask them for stuff if curveballs pop up, but as a I need this, or I have a follow-up question to this, is the last time you're going to be doing it. So you're going to make an AI summary, then you're going to send a recap email of all the onboarding meeting with your task. And this is an example of the recap email that I have. So again, action required is key there. So thanks so much for jumping on the onboarding call with me yesterday. I was able to get some great insights into your business and have started the campaign. As discussed in the meeting, there are a few agenda items that we need to sort that are needed to be sorted before I can complete this campaign. And then I list out those items. So I'll be getting the pictures and I'll link to the drive where they're going to send them. It might be getting that recording of the radio ad. You list them out. And then also, after reviewing our conversation, the following questions that I need answers for. So if there's a specific answer, so I listen back and go, I really wish I asked that. This is the time to ask that question. Go in and go, oh, actually, I need that. Can I get an answer to this question? Or when you mentioned 30-plus-year-olds that are overweight, what does that mean? Is that very overweight, or is that partially overweight? Do these people have kids? Things like that. And then I reiterate times again. If we get the above information and task completed in the next 72 hours, we'll be able to still be on track for our launch date of XYZ. And I look forward to getting this campaign live and smashing it out of the park for you. I just try and keep them excited about the momentum that we're going to be building for them. And then your name and the rest of the team. So I'll be like Jimmy and the rest of the team. PS, I have attached a summary of our onboarding meeting for your own reference. You always should attach this stuff. Like I said, last thing you want is a client asking you questions. So you wanted to eliminate as many of the questions as you can by being able to go, yep, we send that to you on X date. Now, then you're going to find out, have the tasks been completed? If they haven't, after 48 hours, you're going to send a follow-up email. And this is the follow-up email here. It's basically just reiterating that we need these items. And then what we do have on here, though, is this little warning for them. If we get the above information and task completed in the next 24 hours, we are still on track to launch on date. Otherwise, we will have to revise the launch date of the ads and the start of our guarantee. So we're just reiterating that if we don't get this stuff, we're going to have to change some times. Then we obviously send that email. And if they've been completed or good, we end our onboarding sequence. If they don't, we send another reminder, and basically we just send this reminder again and again until they give us the information. So urgent, because this one we're starting to change our tone a little bit. Just an urgent reminder that the task, and if you've got questions, as discussed in our onboarding call the other day, that's supposed to say reminder for the tasks. That's supposed to say for, sorry guys. For the task. These are the agenda items that are needed to sort before the campaign, blah, blah, blah. I also require the answer to the following questions. Due to the above delays, we have revised our launch date campaign to XYZ, and our guarantee will not start till this campaign is live. This is super important. The whole reason you're sending this email is for this. The work, I have done hundreds and hundreds of coaching calls with agency owners at this point, and one of the biggest things that pops up is people not starting a campaign till 3 weeks because they're waiting for people, and then the client's under the impression that the guarantee started from the day they signed up. You need to remind them that actually we don't start the clock on what we're doing until we get this stuff. We can't start until you're onboarded. And this should go for everyone. Do not start campaigns with your clients until you get everything you need from them. It's not fair on you if you don't get it, and the client should, but it's also not fair if the client doesn't understand that. So you need to reiterate that in your emails. So generally we'll send this out once a week until they give us their stuff. So I'll say, due to the above delays, revise the launch date, and we'll just keep revising the launch date. Pretty simple. And then we end our onboarding sequence. Like I said, it's not complex. It just looks complex, but honestly, like that's how you should be doing your onboarding. As you can see, if we were just to like cliff note what's happening here, a lot of it is basically just communication. Everything we do in the agency world should be about communication. The better you communicate with your clients, the longer you will keep them for. And I can say that from a point of confidence because been doing this a very long time and made a lot of money in this space. So the only reason we've been able to do that is because we keep clients a long time. And the reason we keep clients a long time is because we tend to over communicate what we do. So it's a lot of emails to deal with. It's a lot of information to take in. I understand that. But trust me when I say, if you were to do your onboarding like this, you will increase the lifetime value of your client, and you'll get them coming in, and they'll give you a little bit more rope to hang yourself with when you actually start the campaign. And maybe you don't get results in the first week or something like that. The client will be more willing to work with you because they've had a really good experience post-sales, and they know that you're not just trying to take their money from them. Because when you touch and feel them this much from an onboarding perspective, they go, wow, these guys really care about the success or failure of this, which is where you want to be as an agency owner. So obviously you can go back through this video and pause and copy everything that I've done here, or you can go to the school group, and I'm going to be releasing this part of it in the school group in the coming days. Once I get my everything together, I'm going to be releasing this, and then there'll be an opportunity to get all the SOPs and all the processes that I've got here. There'll be an opportunity to get those in the future. But for now, you can get this whole workflow over at the school group in a couple of days from when this video is launched. But hopefully, guys, this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments. Do you have any follow-up questions? Is there any specific part of this that you don't understand? Or is there any part of the SMMA or agency process that you would like me to show our workflows for? Because we pretty much got workflows for the whole thing. You can't scale to over 100 grand a month without processes. You can, but it's a lot of hard work, and it's a very stressful way to run an agency. For context, I do 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day in my agency, and it's because of these processes. So I'm going to be sharing them with you guys free of charge on YouTube and on school, because I think it's the right thing to do. But yeah, make sure to join the school group. Make sure to subscribe if you want the other ones that are coming up in the future, and be notified when they're available. So make sure to click the little bell. And guys, I'm super excited to share the next one, which is on research for your Facebook ads. And I'll catch you in the next video.